over the next several weeks, the Detroit Lions this offseason will have a couple of big decisions that need to be made as far as re-signing, restructuring, or releasing several contributing players for our entire organization. And we are now rolling into the original draft classes. Rookie contracts will be coming up. We know that Penny was extended last season. Lee McNeil was extended, I believe, mid-season this year. And of the original draft class, one name still kind of pops off the board as a contributing member, although having a down 2024. And that would be our third-round pick, the corner converted to safety, Mr. Ifeatu Melifonwu, or as I just refer to him as Iffy. Big fan of Iffy here around here at the Hat and Beard Show. And he is one of the bigger names coming off of our potential roster, and one of the, I said, contributing core members who's been around since the very beginning. Now, we know that our safety room is very talented, with the top two dogs being Brian Branch and Kirby Zilla, right? Or Kirby Joseph, right, who has led the interception or the NFL in interceptions since coming into the league. Both of those guys are astute at everything that they do. Brian Branch is becoming a difference maker alongside Kirby Joseph, and that is a solid 1-2 punch on the back end. But it is always nice to have a rotationary player, especially one who, when healthy, is incredibly productive, has a nose for the ball, has a mind for the game, and is very, very athletic. Now, the problem is availability. Availability is the best availability, or availability is the best ability. And unfortunately, after coming off of a hot 23 season, Ifeatu Melifonwu dealing with injuries kind of let everybody down as far as his production is concerned. And we'll look at the numbers here. So we do have a little article here pulled up, and this is something that, we're going to talk a lot about it. We've talked about Big Z potentially being released. We've talked about, do you bring back like a Kevin Zeitler? Obviously, Marcus Davenport's going to hit the free agent market. We're starting to run into some salary cap slog over the next year and a half as contracts come due, and you got to pay that piper for success. We will be forced to let some guys go. Is one of those guys going to be Ifeatu Melifonwu? He has the acumen and the resume to command a relatively solid payday, be it here in Detroit or with another organization. I would imagine he would probably give the Lions a possible hometown discount, as Brad Holmes is the guy who gave him the opportunity to really maximize his skill set coming out of college, transitioning from corner to safety. So got a little article here pulled up from the prideofdetroit.com. We're going to try and kind of blow through this kind of quick this morning. But before we get into this, go ahead and do me a solid, guys. If you wouldn't mind, just walk on over to the subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Ring that notification bell so that you never miss out on any content. Drop a like if you enjoy this type of content that you're seeing now. Comment down below, would you re-sign Ifeatu Melifonwu? If so, what kind of contract? If not, what do you do about bringing in another individual to, be a rotationary safety? Because last year proved to all of us in the Pride that injury bug can come quick and come harsh. And unless you got a stable of ballers on roster or in-house on practice squad, it could cripple you. And luckily, the Lions do a good job of building out their roster and reserves to have solid reserve players. So also, if you haven't already, why don't you go ahead and just share this video around with all your friends. It really helps the channel grow.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
All right, so here getting into it, 2025 Detroit Lions free agent profile. Ifeatu Melifonwu, chances of re-signing. Ifeatu Melifonwu is one of the Detroit Lions' toughest free agent decisions. This coming to us from Jeremy Reisman over at the Pride of Detroit, coming out this morning at 9 a.m. Time of recording it is 10:45, so moderately warm off the presses for you guys. Going to try and get this up to you by 1 in the afternoon. Quote, here we go. The career of Ifeatu Melifonwu has been a bumpy one since the Lions drafted him in the 3rd round of the 2021 NFL Draft. In between the moments of position changes and injuries, Melifonwu has displayed some serious skill and shown he belongs in the league. Unfortunately, those moments have been few and far between. Now, at the end of his rookie contract, Melifonwu and the Lions are at a crossroad. The decision both must make this offseason is not easy. So let's look at his career so far. Ooh, yeah, we got a lot of free agents coming off. I'm just perusing the previously written free agent profiles. Fireball, Tim Patrick, Kevin Zeitler, Dan Skipper, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Paco, Barnes, Carlton Davis, Mosley, and Badgley. All right, here we go. Back to the story at hand here. Ifeatu Melifonwu, his expectations heading into 24. After minimal contributions his first 2 years, Melifonwu finally showed he can be a difference maker in the final stretch of 2023. With injuries in his past and a full transformation from corner to safety, Melifonwu started the final 5 games of the regular season and all 3 playoff games. In that 8-game span, Melifonwu tallied 5 sacks, 7 passes defended, 2 big-time interceptions, and a forced fumble. Going into 2024, the entire secondary was up for grabs. Would Brian Branch stay at nickel, allowing Melifonwu and Kirby Joseph to run the back end? That's kind of what I thought was going to happen. If Branch was moving to safety, as most indications showed, where would that leave Melifonwu? A rotational player? Could he play nickel? Or would Detroit just run a 3-safety look to get their talented defensive backs on the field? That is kind of, I actually thought that was what we were going to run a lot more of. But unfortunately, if he started the season, I believe, on injured reserve and was there for quite some time, not quite able to get healthy to the point of being able to come back until later on in the season, and his numbers really reflected it. So, there was this expectation put on him. And unfortunately, he failed to even begin to achieve anything close to those expectations. He was outballed. When he was healthy, he was outballed by guys like Amik Robertson. And we were banged up. Luckily, both of our 2 safeties stayed relatively healthy. And, we didn't have to call on, like Brendan Joseph while he was still on roster before he got into legal trouble. Didn't have to call on him too often because Melifonwu was also banged up. And our safety room was depleted, but they stayed healthy, which is a good thing. Melifonwu, unfortunately, I don't know if he would have, and this is all ifs and buts for candies and nuts. I don't even know if he was healthy, would he have been on the field because we have so many Jimmies and Joes out there just balling, right? This is his actual role in 2024. 3 games, 3 starts, 137 defensive snaps, 10 tackles, 1 sack, 2 QB hits. He did not meet the minimum snap criteria for rankings for run defense. His PFF, his defense grade. Sorry, he did not meet the minimum requirement for snaps. His run defense was a 51. His tackling grade was a 52. Pass rush was a 60 because he's relatively decent as far as the defensive back is concerned. As far as blitzing goes, and his coverage was a 58. So not really a cover guy, or didn't have that much time to really get adjusted. 3 games, dude. Unfortunately for Melifonwu, it was another season marred by injury. He suffered an ankle injury in training camp that forced him to miss the first 2 months of the season. Just when it looked like he was going to return, he dislocated a finger in practice, necessitating wow, Jesus, dude, you dislocated your finger and it required surgery? Damn. That's a pretty bad. My finger really hurts. And meanwhile, Alex Anzalone's over there breaking his forearm and coming back and playing 64, 65 defensive snaps with a cast basically on his arm. He went from injured reserve to active and then back to injured reserve in a matter of days. He eventually made it back to the field for Detroit's final run, almost mirroring 2023, but unfortunately he only made a fraction of the impact compared to previous seasons. While his skills as a blitzer were still on display this season, he produced 6 pressures in 4 games, including playoffs. He didn't provide much else. That's what I said. He blitzed well, but that's about it. In coverage, he allowed 6 of 8 completions for 40 yards and a touchdown. He's still a good run defender, and he tallied 3 missed tackles in his limited play. So 6 of 8 completions. It's I'm not too high on that. If that's the end of Melifonwu's playing career in Detroit, it's a disappointing final act. However, Melifonwu believes he's grown from the ups and downs. Quote, I feel like I had a lot of ups and downs over the last 4 years, but I just feel like I never quit. Ups and downs, position changes, DB coaching changes, I would stay resilient. His outlook for 2025 is he's an unrestricted free agent. Pros of re-signing Melifonwu. When healthy, Melifonwu is the optimal version of Will Harris. He can fill at cornerback, nickel, and either safety spot. Oh, good. Will Harris. Boy, the optimal version of Will Harris. Cool. That's what I want, is the optimal version of Will Harris. Boy, doesn't Will Harris just bring back lots of good memories of blown coverages and getting beat over the top? Good old Will Harris. He can play at safety, he can play at nickel in a pinch if you needed him. He can play outside if you needed him because he started in this league as an outside corner, says Dan Campbell. So he is a little bit, he can play, he's a multiple matchup piece for you. So that's something I've said a lot about, how we like to have guys who can just really kind of plug and play almost anywhere. He also brings the ability to rush the passer, as the secondary cannot be replicated by anyone else in the defensive backfield. And the way he created a ton of disruption at the end of the 2023 season shows he can be a playmaker and difference maker for a defense that desperately needed it at the end of the past year. With his long injury history, there's a chance Melifonwu could be brought back for a relatively cheap price. And that's what I want. If he's going to be cheap, if he's going to give us a deal and I can fill out the roster, then you got to do it, right? And hopefully he doesn't pull a Tracy Walker and rupture his Achilles the following season. Cons of re-signing. Doesn't matter how promising your play is if you can't stay on the field. He missed 10 games his rookie season, 7 his second season, and 14 this past year. This past season was a shining example of why it's important to have dependable depth. Didn't I talk about this? First of all, didn't I say availability is the best ability, and then talking about dependable depth? Detroit was extremely shorthanded on the defensive side of the ball, and they can't find themselves in that situation again in 2025. That's obviously not Melifonwu's fault that his career has been defined by injuries, but they have. That's an undeniable truth. And so keeping Melifonwu would be a significant risk. That's a good point. That's a good point. That even if he is a depth piece, a reserve player, a rotationary guy, the fact that even given his opportunity, he might cause you more issues down the line by not being able to be healthy, by not being healthy, by not being able to be available. Okay, great. So Curbzilla goes ahead and gets dinged out of the game, or Brian Branch gets ejected from the game for hitting a player too hard in a contact grown man's game. And you put Iffy in there. Okay, good. We feel comfortable. Iffy Melifonwu, and oh shit, he hurt his fingy. He hurt his finger again. Excellent. That's just what I need. I feel like I'm getting talked out of re-signing Iffy Melifonwu. Man, you know what? I don't think I would. I don't think I would unless it's dirt cheap, but I don't think I would. I think you ought to draft a guy, right? Go find a guy in the draft, and we'll do some breakdowns on some draft prospects moving forward. Not today. But, go out there, get a guy in the draft. Get another rookie scale contract, right? Is there interest from both sides? Melifonwu said he would. The opportunity presents itself, he would definitely be back because he's one of the original draft class here. He would definitely like to be back. It's unclear how the Lions feel. Lions general manager Brad Holmes has never shied away from taking chances on injured players. Ain't that the truth, both with drafted players and Emmanuel, I can't ever be healthy Mosley. And we know Detroit loves players who can bring versatility. That is true. However, it's also fair to wonder if Melifonwu could possibly follow Aaron Glenn to New York. Oh, I didn't think about that. The Jets are a rebuilding team that takes away from the 2025 expectations compared to the Lions that expect to be in the Super Bowl conversation. That might not be a bad landing spot for Iffy. A second chance, if it were. And it's nothing personal. It's just business. The cost, this is a really hard one to project. I would imagine the team would not be willing to risk anything more than a 2-year contract. Yep, we learned our lesson with Tracy Walker. Teams would be wise to simply give him a prove-it deal, but it's possible Melifonwu can't believe he's worth more as a young, versatile, and disruptive defensive back. With recent success of players like Brian Branch, Kyle Hamilton, Cooper DeJean, and Derwin James, players like Melifonwu present huge opportunity. Given the Lions already have Branch and a few options at nickel, Melifonwu may get a better deal elsewhere. Let's see, so I'd be surprised to see if Melifonwu got anything more than a 1-year, $4 million deal. Yeah, that's it's about where I'd be at with it. No more than four. I wouldn't give him more than $4 million even for a 1-year deal. That's maybe a 3-3 with a $500,000 signing bonus. But dude, you're coming off of injuries. You're coming off of no production. It's just, I don't see how the Lions could be eager to make a deal with Melifonwu after his frustrating 4-year stint in Detroit. It could be the situation where they throw him an offer, allow him to test the market, see if he wants to return. If that's the case, I think he may be gone. Still, the Lions could be at least a contender to bring him back and approve your deal. He has a skill set that is very tantalizing, and should be noted that at least one of his injuries this past year, dislocated finger, was a freak injury, not necessarily an indication he's, quote, injury prone. Man, yeah, that's the thing, is he checks all the boxes of what the Lions look for in a player. Versatility, a mind for the game. When he's on the field, he's incredibly, this season set aside, he's relatively productive. I'm not going to say he's incredibly productive. But are you going to give him, $4 million a year to miss 14 games a season as a rotationary player? No, you can't. You can't do that. We can't do that. We can't bring Melifonwu back, man. And I'm a Melifonwu fan. I like him. I like what he did last year. I like what he brings to the table. Again, in terms of versatility, faster, longer, smarter, better blitzer, better cover guy than Will Harris. Jesus Christ, Will Harris. Ugh, that just makes me feel uncomfortable even thinking about him. But you know what? We'll see what the Lions got to do. Personally, here at the Hat and Beard Show, we are going to go ahead and throw our hat on the let him walk stop. Go ahead and draft a guy. Find a guy in the later rounds, 4th round of the draft that can rotate in and play really well. Get a nice hard nose SEC player or something. So Brad Holmes proved that he knows where to do it, and he can find guys later on in the draft that turn out to be stars. Look at Kirby Joseph. Look at Aleem McNeil. Look at Malcolm Rodriguez. All right. So, and Brad Holmes we trust. All right, that's going to be it for me, guys. Just one upload today and no upload tomorrow. Got a funeral tomorrow, so it's going to be it for the week. Appreciate you guys all hanging out with me. Again, if you're not already, like, comment, subscribe, share this video around with all your friends. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been Attentive Audience. Have a good weekend. Banga banga. Frig off.